Surf fishing, Oak Island, in January? Let's go! So we started off nice January Saturday afternoon. It was low tide. It was warm. Hey, I had gone to Dutchman's Creek Bait and Tackle and I got some bait clams. Hey, this is not for human consumption. They told me right there in Dutchman's Creek I can't eat them. So I decided to fish with them. So I got there. And I've never fished with clams really before. I actually bought them with the intention of going for sheephead out on the boat, but then I got lazy and I just decided to go to the surf. So I cut them up. I thought they were a little bit mushy, but I found that like a stiff enough place that I could get them on the hook. So I was like, I'm going to toss these out and see what I can catch. Now the waves was a little rough. The wind had kind of kicked up, and what happens in the spring, now of course this is January, but this happens all the way into March, is a lot of times you get a lot of seaweed just kind of gets all over your rig. So you got to kind of bring it in kind of often and clean it off, and actually it's kind of annoying. So I was fishing along and I got my first fish, and it was a puffer, and it was a really nice puffer, and I like puffer, so I'm putting him in the bucket. I put him in the bucket and I was like, I'm gonna catch like 5 or 6 more of these. January puffer, excellent. But you know what, I didn't catch 5 or 6 more of them. I only caught him as far as puffer goes, but I did catch a few other fish that afternoon. I caught another whiting, but he was a little small, kind of on the small size, so I'm just gonna release him back in the ocean and let him come back when he's a little bit bigger. But catching fish in January, I can't complain too much. And then I decided it was all I was really catching, and I decided to let the puffer go. So I let the puffer go because one puffer, what are you going to do? And I reeled in the reel, and here I had this decent sized mullet, and I was like, now I have the mullet. If I had the puffer, I actually could have maybe make them smoked fish dip. So I'm keeping the mullet, but my wife is yelling at me, why'd you let the puffer go? Anyway, in the meantime, I saw this hole right where we were fishing at Hull, and I decided I'm going to come back later when it's high tide. So I went home and I salted up the clams so I could stiffen them up a little bit. I'll tell you what we're doing today, a little different. Same spot we were yesterday, but today's high tide. So if you remember yesterday, those holes were like right here or right over here. I'm not sure exactly. I'm trying to remember. And I think I got a bite on that one line. And so I'm just trying to fish that hole, see if there's any fish in there. And I got one out a little bit further past the breakers to see if there's anything out there too. So we're just going to see what we can catch. Been out here about an hour and can't seem to find that hole, and I can't find the fish. I'm doing my little rule of thirds thing too. I got like this first rod here, and I'm sailing that. I'm trying to see how far I can cast it to see if there's anything out there deep. And the other rod, I'm just lobbing it past the breakers, but you know what? I'm not finding the fish, so I think maybe because yesterday afternoon it was really warm, so the water might have warmed up a little bit and the fish were coming in a little closer. Maybe it's just too cold, maybe they're not hungry, maybe the moon's not in the right phase, I don't know. I think I'm gonna go get some breakfast at Koko Cabana and then come back and try again. Okay, so Koko Cabana, Sunday morning brunch. Like this restaurant a lot. The food is really good, everything's fresh, it's gourmet. It's got a nice little atmosphere when you get inside. It's right off the pier. You can look out. You can sit outside. A little cold this morning for sitting outside, but they do have outdoor seating, which would be really nice. And of course, we just sat inside because it was warm. I'm looking over the menu, and of course, they've got the breakfast, which it says right there, perfect for a long day of fishing, which I'd like to do. They also have the Krazy. This is the Krazy Bloody Mary. I've had 3 of these. The first one I got actually had a fried frog leg up on top. The next one had a little hamburger, and this one came with like a little burrito. So anyway, that was delicious. Drank that down. My wife got like the pork chops with an egg on top, and I actually went with the breakfast tacos, which are super delicious and good. So highly recommend that. Okay, look, I found the hole. Now that it's low tide, I found the hole. I was fishing right here. I was fishing right in this. I was fishing right here. I was fishing right here in this hole. They were fishing this hole this morning, but they weren't biting. Want to know why they weren't biting? Not because it was cold. No. It's because fish don't like breakfast. Fish don't like breakfast. I never catch fish in the morning. I'm an afternoon fisherman, and I have to realize that about myself, that I'm an afternoon fisherman, and I can only catch fish in the afternoon. So, we're set up. We're going to give it another go. Another go. Run to talk. And see what happens. Here we go. So we're back at it this afternoon with the salted clams. The salt seemed to firm up the clam a little bit. It takes some of the moisture out of it, so it firms up and it holds on to the hook better. And I think the fish liked it too, because we were doing better, at least catching quantity of fish. I think they like it because it tastes like a pretzel, like a salted clam. It tastes like pretzel. So here's a little whiting I caught, but the quantity wasn't up to snuff. They were kind of small this afternoon, and this guy was definitely a little too small, so he's going back in the water till he gets a little bit bigger. Now it's going to look like I'm catching fish after fish here, because that's just the way the video is edited, but the truth of the matter is January fishing is slow. You got to let the bait just sit out there and let it soak, and the fish will think about coming up and eating it. This guy was a little small too, so I got to release him with this great release technique right there. Well, he's back in the water. And there I got another one here, and I think they're just getting smaller and smaller. This one's he's adorable. He's about the size of my thumb. I can't even believe he could get that hook in his mouth, but he did. So he's going to go back in the water too. Finally, I got the grand slam. Here it is, the grand finale, people. Finally was waiting to get a good set of fish, and I got a good set of fish. Double header, whiting, and reel it up. What else? Another whiting. Okay, I know it's ridiculously small also. Both these fish are going back, but well, we had some fun fishing, and you can catch fish in January. Just not that easy, and it's kind of cold. Salt, pepper, olive oil, fill the cavity with garlic, putting them in the air fryer 20 minutes. And we're going to eat them. And that's it. Looks good, doesn't it? Actually, it looks kind of scary, but it's going to taste delicious, trust me. Simple recipe, the olive oil, the salt, the pepper, the garlic inside it, and I'm ready to eat.